What's up and how's it, everyone? I'm Star Sua, aka Supastar, and welcome to the That's So Supa podcast, the show that digs deeper in my thoughts, opinions, and viewpoints about anything and everything, from cultures to my experiences and questions like, what the heck happened to Vine? So thanks for listening in and enjoy the show. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode on the That's So Supa podcast. I'm your host, Star Sua, aka Supastar, and I'm so excited to be sharing with you all about the diverse cultures of the Pacific Islands. For those who may not be familiar with that, the Pacific Islands are a group of over 20,000 small islands located in the Pacific Ocean. These islands are home to a variety of cultures, each with their own unique traditions, languages, and histories. In this podcast, we'll be exploring the culture, traditions, music, art, and history of the Pacific Islands. So sit back, relax, and join me on this journey as we dive into the rich and vibrant culture of the Pacific Islands. Let's get started, baby. All right, guys, we're going to get started with the show. And as you can see, I have a special guest, very special guest, because it's not an actual person. I mean, she's an actual person, but she's coming in as your VTuber. But our guest today, her name is Tiare. She is a VTuber, obviously you can see. She's also a streamer, content creator, and she plays a lot of video games. She has a lot of passion with anime, K-pop, and K-drama as well, right? And the one thing that I brought her on here was because she is of Hawaiian descent, Hawaiian blood, and we're going to talk about our Pacific Island cultures. So I am glad that she's here. I'm glad that you're here, Tiare, and thank you so much for joining us. What's going on?
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's pretty this is pretty awesome. It's like my first time being on someone's podcast and all. But like Supa said, guys, yeah, I'm a somewhat VTuber, but I do come on camera sometimes on Twitch stream. I am a mom of 4, and like you said, I'm a Hawaiian descendant, so this is gonna be a great topic to come and bring up.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about for sure. But let me bring up some of these sponsors who we don't have currently for this podcast, but soon we'll have a sponsor. Who knows? It might be something, but even though we don't have a sponsor yet, I would like to make a shout out to Shure, because I have this mic and I'm using the mic and it's making me sound very prettiful now this time around, right? And
I also went fob right there.
Huh?
You just went fob right
there.
there.
No, I did not go fob. Oh yeah, prettiful. Hey. But we'll talk about fob later, all right? So I also want to thank Logitech. I'm using their camera, making me look as prettiful as possible. And Cyberpower PC for this PC, because I wouldn't be able to record this podcast if it wasn't for this PC. But last but not least, I want to shout out to YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music for allowing me to stream this podcast on top of their platform. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it going. We're going to dive right in. So the Pacific Islands, man, a lot of people don't realize that how big or how much islands consist in the Pacific Islands. Have you had any experience of people assuming that everybody in the Pacific Islands are Hawaiian?
Yeah, a lot of times. A lot. They mistake, I guess, the 3 Pacific as like literally just Hawaiians only, and not just different kind of like there's a lot of culture out there. Like there's the Samoan, there's Micronesians, there's different kinds of it within the islands. And it's just not the Hawaiian Islands only. There's a lot of Pacific Islanders,
right?
Or out there that's within the other region of to there.
right. And it's not them being ignorant, you know what I mean? A lot of times it's them just not knowing the history or not knowing the geography of the whole thing, right, of our culture. Well, and if you guys didn't know, let me give you a little bit of history geography lesson right now. The Pacific Islands in the Pacific Ocean consists of 3 different regions, right? And the first one is Melanesia, second one is Micronesia, and third one is Polynesia. So let me give you a little bit of information on each one. So Melanesia, the people of Melanesia, from the Greek word melas, meaning black, and nesos, meaning island, they include the islands Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Fiji. They're known to be very dark-skinned with afro hair and thought to have migrated by canoe from the East Africa to across the Indian Ocean by way of Indonesia.
Dude, that is nuts. Like, I didn't even know that. Honest to God, I have not known that at all within my history.
I never knew that either. I mean, honestly, I thought all the Pacific Islanders came from one place. And everybody, a lot of people, especially old timers, they have their own, I guess, version of their story of where our people came from, right?
Oh yeah, it's always a thing when you have the old generations tell us, especially when, you know, as grandkids or great grandkids, they wanna tell their story and pass it on to our kids. You know what I mean? It's, yeah, like I said, it's like passing on the culture and where, back in the days what they used to do kind of things.
Right. Exactly, exactly. And that's Melanesia. So Micronesia comes from the word micros, meaning small. It's a small group of islands, including some of the countries called Yap, Truk, the Marshall, and the Gilbert Islands. Their indigenous people are thought to be of Southeast Asian descent, and that makes sense because their islands are closer to all of the Asian countries. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. That is
Makes
very
sense.
true.
And if you guys
But
encountered any Micronesians or people from Micronesia, a lot of them their eyes are very chinky, meaning like very small, like Asian like. So it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean?
oh, okay, yeah, because like, I remember. I'm not gonna bring this one up. Of how they look. You know what I mean? They have their own perspective, like way of what you know of each. You would like, I guess, like how you not judge, but how you look at them. You're like, oh, okay, he's Micronesian, and then you go to another person like, oh, he's Hawaiian. It's guaranteed he's Hawaiian, but
Yeah,
in
you could
actuality,
tell. You could tell.
yeah, you can tell honestly. You can honestly tell from a Micronesian to any of the Pacific Islanders.
I mean, even Melanesians, Melanesian people, they just look straight black. They look African American. They don't
Yeah,
look
and
like
and
they're
then they
Pacific Island.
mistake, and their mistake as African American when they actually are learning that are
Right.
in that culture.
Yeah, exactly. And then here's the last part of the Pacific Ocean, Polynesia. So I don't want to say they're the most popular, but as far as in the United States, they have probably the most people that migrated there to, I don't know, start a new life or whatever it is, live that American dream, right?
Oh yeah.
But Polynesia, and Polynesia comes from the Greek word poly, meaning many, because I think the Polynesian islands has the most. They run across the most islands in the Pacific Ocean. Then it ranges from the islands that stretch a huge triangle from New Zealand to the Easter Islands all the way up to Hawaii. And if you guys know your geography, or if you guys want to take a look at the map now, that's a pretty far range. The Polynesians are generally taller, they're generally lighter skinned, and it is believed that they originated in Southeast Asia, migrated to Fiji, and then fanned out over the vast territory from there. You guys can see that there is a common factor that all of these, Pacific Islanders cultures came from that side of the world compared to coming from, I guess, the America side and Mexico side. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I read something that a lot of our ancestors migrated from the Southeast or South Asia, I guess, continent or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe wrong though, but if you guys know like the actual history, or the the most truest story that you guys think, then comment down in the YouTube video, or just reach out, because we love to hear. I'd love to hear like some more facts about my Pacific Island culture.
You know what? That's another sad part about it is that back in the days, that's the only way you're gonna learn your own culture is through your great grandparents, which is the good source, honestly, because they've been there, they know it and stuff. In Hawaii, yeah, you have some people that like, well, some schools that talk about Hawaiian culture and stuff like that. Like they have Hawaiian history. I used to take Hawaiian history in classes because for me it was easy. It's an easy A. It was an easy A, but at the same time, I also wanted to learn more about my native Hawaiian heritage. And for you, though, in your Samoan culture, because you are technically Samoan,
Yes, I am.
like, have you ever like you grew up with it for your family to be like, okay, like this is what happened, and this is how come, like why you're like why we're Samoan. I don't know, that always brings up sometimes.
I mean, that's
Um,
that's. I think that's how it is with a lot of people. I mean, if
because
you
you always have
guys,
to ask that question when you're a little kid, right? Like, what is Hawaiian? And so, like, your grandparents have to tell you what
right. Like,
Hawaiian means.
what is someone, or like, oh, and like a specific tradition that we would do you know, us being curious little kids, you'd be like, oh, why do we have to do that? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, especially when we're rascal little kids and we're like, I don't want to do this, but you gotta.
Right, exactly. Exactly, and you're
Because
like,
that's
"Why I gotta do that?" Because you have to. It's part of the tradition, and that's how we was raised. You know, really like traditions being passed down, but from generation to generation, and that's really what the word tradition means. Is
yeah.
practices and beliefs and upbringings that have been passed down to generation, just being taught, "Hey, this is how things are being done. This is how things are supposed to be done in our culture." And then that generation will pass it to the next one. So,
Can you for question like you know like how traditions, do you think Hawaiian and Samoan traditions are like the same, or do you think like there's some the same but they're different?
I think I've always told people this, that the Pacific Island cultures, all of them, we've all migrated from one place, and we've all learned from each other's cultures, and we've all came about having our own little practices, our own little traditions, but everything is basically the same. And after doing a lot of research on different cultures, a lot of things like music or dance or anything that has to do with the culture, it derived from the same thing, but then they also have their own little spin on it. You know what I mean? That kind of like makes the little difference between the different cultures. Yeah, we all have a war dance, right? And we'll talk about it later. Like the haka for
Yeah.
Maori, we have
Mm-hmm.
different. Every culture has their own war dance, but it's obviously called something different because each of them have their own different language, and
Mm-hmm.
but they all mean the same thing. They just do it their own way. You know what I mean? So that's what I've always told people. Like all of the cultures, we all have similar, I like to say similar practices, similar beliefs, but we all do it our own way.
Oh yeah, that's the realest answer that you can get, especially the way you said it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like how for me, like how is it you? I know people would ask you the same thing too. Like how is it being a Samoan?
I mean, it was so, yes, I'm Samoan, but a lot of people assume that because I'm Samoan, and people that know Samoans, they think I came from the Samoan Islands. And I wasn't born and raised on Samoa or American Samoa. I was born and raised in Hawaii. And so I basically grew up in the Hawaiian culture at the same time as the Samoan culture because that's what my parents was teaching me. You know what I mean? But just my environment that I was in was the Hawaiian culture where they have,
Okay,
what was that?
sorry. Sorry. Have you ever like this came up into my head too? The way you said like you didn't grow from. I mean, like, you didn't grow up in Samoa. You weren't born in Samoa, but you was in Hawaii. And then have you ever got mistaken as like for yourself as when you were a kid? Like oh yeah, I live in Hawaii, so I'm Hawaiian. Have you ever mistaken as that?
I mean, not in Hawaii, but when I went to the mainland, to the state side, yes, I was always mistaken as a Hawaiian. And it's a funny story. When I was going to college, one of my friends, I went to college in Pennsylvania, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, are you Hawaiian? You from Hawaii, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm not Hawaiian." They're like, "Wait, what? That doesn't make sense." And I'm like, "What do you mean it doesn't make sense?" Because I'm over here thinking my thing that I know, and he's over here thinking his thing that he knows, and so, or he assumed he knows, right? And he goes, "But I'm from Pennsylvania. That makes me a Pennsylvanian." I'm like, "It
Okay, don't
doesn't make, it doesn't
it
work
doesn't
that,
make sense.
it doesn't work like that." I mean, it makes sense for them in the mainland, right? So like people from Texas, they're called Texans because they're from Texas.
Oh, it's the same as Virginia, Virginians
Yeah,
or something.
Virginians or New Yorkans, you know what I
New
mean?
Yorkans.
So it's all
I'm a New Yorker.
that's what they grew up as, right? But like
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
us, we grew up as knowing our own cultures. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
not saying that like they didn't have like, if you're black, if you're white, if you're Mexican or whatever, and you born and raised in New York, you're gonna call yourself a New Yorker because that's where you was raised.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's
Definitely,
that's just the
definitely.
way it is. I mean, they'll still say they're Mexican, but they'll also say that they're New Yorkan. But when my friend told me that, I was like, it doesn't work like that in Hawaii. Just because I'm born
No.
and raised in that place doesn't mean I'm Hawaiian. we go off of blood.
Yeah, definitely. Especially your ancestry kind of trees and stuff like that. It's just that's how it's supposed to be, like your family tree. It doesn't come off of where you live, and that's what you're gonna call yourself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can just like be proud of it about like you know you were born there, you were raised there, and you can say that. But in your athletics or
Ethnicity.
you say it. I'm like my words are like like literally crossed right now. But it just says it right in your blood, your DNA, pretty much.
Have
Like
you? Yeah, I was gonna
I've got
say, have you
mistaken too.
experienced?
Yeah, I've gotten mistaken too. When I first got off the rock after 19 years off the rock on the island of Oahu, I ended up moving to the mainland for the first time. And I used to work at this job, and lots of mainlanders that I worked with always asked me if I was Mexican.
Always,
And
man.
it was always the case. It was always the case that they called me Mexican. I'm like, no, I'm not Mexican. I'm Hawaiian. And they're like, oh my God, you're from Hawaii? Yes. But the only question that I would hate to hear a lot of times when somebody, especially if tourists would ask to, do you guys live in huts?
I
What?
was gonna. I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna say, all right, let's go into the segment of stereotypes.
Oh, let me. Me and Supa got a lot of that
So
stereotype.
that's like the most common, I guess, Hawaii or Hawaiian stereotype is, do you live in grass huts? And and it's not and it's not
Like,
anybody's fault but Hollywood's fault, or the TV, or making more movies or whatever, because that's the first thing that they would do when they would make a movie or a TV show. You know what I
and
mean?
another stereotype is, guys, is that they talk about, do you travel with like, how do you guys travel like through canoes?
But
And
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'll be that person to be like, yeah, we do. We take our pig with us, and we just take it, and we just paddle all the way to the other island. Yeah,
you're just you're just going along with the story,
I'm just going along with the story because like it's ridiculous. Like this is like the year that they told me was like in 2014, and I'm like, dude, do you guys still think that we go and travel with canoes to another island? Like, damn. Like, yeah, they do some paddling races, like canoe races, like
I think that's the
for
biggest one.
tournaments.
The biggest one is the living in grass huts. That's the I
It's
think
the
that's the
most
most,
one.
yeah, the most
It's the
common
most
one.
one we hear. Nah, and like some, even my cousin too. My cousin and would say the same thing. They would be like me too. They were like, yeah, we live in grass huts.
Right.
Like,
Yo.
yeah, we don't have a TV. We have a TV. Like, we have like a 50-inch TV right in our grass hut.
Right. Bro, you know what the biggest one of the biggest ones too for me was, they assumed that I knew that everybody from Hawaii knew how to surf.
No, no, we don't. No, we don't. We all
No.
don't.
No,
You have
not
some.
there's I
You
mean
have.
there's a lot of surfers out there, but I think there's more surfers in California than Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing. Like, I get it. Duke Hanamoku brought surfing to like the mainland and stuff. Like, that's the most main thing. But not all Hawaiians or Samoans or any Pacific Islander surfs. Yeah, they boogie board. They boogie board,
Yeah,
but
we
not
boogie board,
surf.
not actual surfing.
Not actual surfing. We all boogie board, and we go underneath that freaking the tunnel and stuff, and we get pounded every freaking time. By the way, pounded means you kind of like suffocate a little bit in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
water.
Yeah,
By the waves.
not the way that you guys are thinking of right now. You're
Yeah.
dirty mind, little suckers. No, but so
That's
like,
another
and when
stereotype.
I
I
tell
forgot.
people that I don't surf, they trip out, right?
They're in like gas.
Yeah, they're in
gassed and
gas. They're
everything.
like, wow, you grew up in Hawaii. You're surrounded by the water. I'm like, well, I mean, you got a point there, but and the other point is, like, I love going to the beach. I don't mind going to the water. I love, hanging out in the water and whatnot, but I will not go into the deep. I will not go and surf or whatever. And it's mainly because I have, let me tell you guys a story. I had this bad experience where we have tourist things right on the island. We have a canoe tour around the island where you have like two canoes that makes up a boat, whatever, and you
Oh yeah.
you go and you just tour around the island. And so we went on that. We just wanted to go and just ride the canoe boat, and we went on that. And I was 4 years old, right? And this was when they had the super ferry going on. I don't know if you remember
Oh
that.
gosh,
So
yeah.
the super ferry was also in the water, and our captain, whoever was steering our boat, was going further out, further out, further out, and it was for some reason, I guess it was too late for us to turn our boat, but the super ferry was coming in our direction, and we kept going straight,
Oh my
and
god.
we kept turning, and we kept trying to turn. And the super ferry, I guess you can't. They didn't see us or whatever because we're a small little tiny boat compared to the big ass super ferry, right?
Yeah.
And they kept going. We did our best to try to turn it or whatever. And a lot of times, if you guys know, right, riding on boats or even small boats, a lot of times we'll have like those motors at the back, or you use the sail base and use the wind to help steer your boat. And there wasn't too much wind, and so we were trying to turn, and the super ferry like nicked our boat, and obviously we
Oh my
crashed.
god.
Obviously we crashed, and everybody managed to hold on and stay on top of the boat, and me, little 4-year-old, was the only one that flew off into the water.
What? And you were 4 years old?
Yeah, I was 4 years old. I had the floaty on, so I didn't drown, but I still was freaking scared as shit.
You were just traumatized.
Yeah, I was
like, big time.
traumatized, so I didn't ever want to go in the water ever again.
Gosh.
So
And I
that's
don't blame you. I don't blame you for that at all. Like the one thing if I think back in home in Hawaii, what I didn't do, like I always went to the beach when I was back home when I was young, didn't have kids and stuff. But I used to go to the beach all the time because we literally lived right across Miley Beach, and we would
Miley?
live like yeah. I used to live in Miley, so we had like literally our house was like right across from there, and me and my brothers, my sibling, like pretty much my siblings and his friends would always go to the beach. And I think there was this one time that I actually went boogie boarding with my uncle them, and I went to the deep and I almost drowned from it
Sheesh.
because I never know where my boogie board was. And like literally it was a good thing my uncle was there, but he got me out of that situation. That I was ever since then I just got traumatized because I thought while I was drowning, I thought Jaws was gonna freaking come out of the damn water. He needs to bite my ass. That's another thing I hate about the deep. Like, have you ever got those things where you go to like a community pool and you go to the deep side and you think there's a freaking shark in the
Yeah,
pool?
yeah.
That's the kind of fear I have. I have those kind of fears.
That's me in the regular water. Like if I don't in the regular ocean, right? If my feet don't touch ground, that's the first thing I think. Something's gonna freaking grab my feet.
Oh God, there's like tentacles and stuff like that.
Yeah, just anything, bro.
I think that's the only time I only got traumatized. But at the same time, like there is some things that I like. I never ever went on a boat, even though I went on a boat one time for my grandfather's, scattering my grandfather's ashes and stuff like that. My great grandfather, sorry. And I always got seasick. That's another thing you guys don't know. Yeah, we there's a lot of like us doing canoes and stuff like that, and boats and things that are on the island. But I get very seasick. I get very, very seasick. And that's the whole reason why like I don't ever do like cruise ships and stuff like that, because I get seasick. One, as I get seasick, and two, I watch Titanic. That's another freaking thing. But
Oh,
that shouldn't stop me. I should like at least face my fears at
no.
least.
Yeah, speaking of Titanic, did you know that the Titanic didn't actually sink?
Not you lying.
I'm serious. There's a conspiracy theory out there that the owner of the Titanic, like I could talk about more about this later in another episode, but let me just give you a little rundown. The owner of the Titanic, he actually owned two different boats and cruise ships, and they were both the same, but the Titanic was the newer one, and the other one was called the Olympic, and that was the older one, and so it was getting run down and whatnot. And long story short, he found out that if the Titanic sunk, he would get a lot of money, but he didn't want to waste all the money that he spent on making his brand new Titanic boat. And so what he did was he switched the names of the boats.
Oh my God! So that's what really happened,
Yeah.
mother.
He switched
So
the
he
names of
switched
the
the
boat.
names,
He switched the
and he
names of
knew
the
it was
boat.
gonna sink
Yeah.
or not sunk, or
No,
I don't know.
he knew it was gonna sink. He basically sabotaged it. Like he wasn't even on the boat, and he invited. He was very competitive in the like the business world, right? And he was the most successful, I guess, businessman or whatever. And
So let me guess. He brought these big money people.
oh yeah, he brought the big money people, invited them to the boat, onto the ship,
and he killed them.
He killed them. He basically killed them.
Oh my god!
He basically killed them. And guess what? The owner creator of Hershey's was the only one that didn't. He canceled his trip last minute.
Oh, so that's how come he became big. He didn't die. He didn't die. He didn't even go on that ship.
Yeah, but about that, there's gonna be another episode of conspiracy theories, and
oh my god, you should do one for the supernatural of like you could do like how in the Hawaiian Islands there's some superstitions about putting your feet to the door.
Yeah,
it wasn't the door or the window.
Well, feet to the window, to the door.
It was the door, right?
Yeah, you can't sleep with your feet towards the door. Or the other, I don't know if it was Hawaiian, but it might be Samoan too. You can't sleep with I think it was wet hair towards the door.
Oh, I think it is.
It was like wet hair that's like not in a ponytail or whatever. Like it was just out.
Yeah. You cannot.
Because it is said that the spirits is gonna come and yank your hair.
Yank your hair,
right? Break that. I'm saving that. I'm saving that for another episode. Let me go back to. let me go back to stereotypes, and we were talking about Hawaiian and Hawaii stereotypes, but let me bring up some Samoan ones. Because there's a lot, and I'm sure your husband can agree too.
My husband will agree to it.
He can't hear, but the main one is all Samoans are fat and they eat a lot.
But that I've heard it too. But I'm like, not all Samoans, and not like they're not just fat. They're just big boned.
Yeah, we're big boned. So
muscles.
So let me give you a fact. Let me give you a fact about that. Scientists or biologist did a study of bone density, and he tested out bone densities for a lot of the different cultures in the world. And guess who had the thickest and biggest bone density out of all the cultures?
You guys?
Samoans. That's why when people say we're heavy boned, we're big boned, it's true. We are naturally heavy, big boned.
Yeah, I heard another stereotype was that you guys have big nose.
I think that's all Pacific Islanders.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know why? Because my dad got mistaken. Well, when he was a kid, he grew up with someone with. Do you remember Halava Heights?
Yeah, Halava Heights.
Okay, my dad grew up in Halava Heights. Okay, it was all Samoan, right? Also, it's like a Samoan community in that freaking apartments, right? So my dad, he's like 75% Hawaiian, right? Told his dad, am I Samoan? And my grandpa had to go and tell him, no, son, we're not Samoan, we're Hawaiian. And my dad cried. My dad cried because he really wanted to be Samoan.
That's crazy.
But everybody does mistake my dad as Samoan because he has the nose, he looks like a Samoan, and I always have to tell my friends too, because when my friends come over, they get scared of my dad. Because they're like, is your dad Samoan? I'm like, no, he's Hawaiian, guys. Right. Oh, okay.
Right. That's the eating a lot, and we're big and big nose. I think the big nose plays to all of the cultures. But I think the eating a lot is very specific to Samoans.
It's very okay. First of all, yes, they make every Pacific Islanders, especially Samoans, Hawaiians, Micronesians, every Nesians out there can make good ass food. What can you do?
Sure. And the crazy thing is other cultures make good ass food too, and they have their fair share of big people too.
Yeah, exactly. So it cannot be just only Samoans. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's just the fact that majority of our Samoans are pretty big, and like biologists did show that we are naturally bigger boned.
Big boned.
Boned. But let me go to another stereotype. So this one is us Samoans. We play it off so much, and we make a lot of jokes about it, and it's just so funny. That the one stereotype is that all Samoans are related.
Oh, that's for Hawaiians too. If anything, that every Hawaiians are related within their Hawaiian blood. It's the same
Right?
thing as Samoans. You guys are all related, so you got to be careful who you
Yeah,
date.
exactly. And you see
That's why
all the jokes on TikTok and Instagram, all the
Oh,
comedians, they always say like, "Oh, look at that someone. They're probably dating their cousin."
I've always heard that every time within my family. They're like, you cannot, you gotta make sure if you're dating this local boy, you have to make sure you're not related to them. And I'm like, why? Because we might be related. Okay, I get your point.
Right.
And that's why we always go, like, for me, instance, I'm Hawaiian, I'm married to a Samoan. Like, I'd rather date a different culture or
A different islander at least.
a different islander at least. Because like my mom and dad or my grandparents said, you never know who you related to. Like way back in the days, you guys might be related.
Oh
somehow,
my gosh.
some
And
way.
so that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Every time somebody brings that up, I always say, because like I grew up very religious in my culture, and we'll talk about that later, but I grew up knowing that everybody came from Adam and Eve. And so I'm like, doesn't that make
all
all of
related.
us related?
related?
Everybody? Every single person
Everybody's
in this
related.
world? You know what I mean?
Like yeah. You have a point. Especially in the Bible, it says Adam and Eve made people.
Made
We are related to Adam and Eve, so yeah, we are related then.
every single, you know what I'm saying? So
Every single person.
so that's why if somebody wants to do that to me, I'm like, well, technically we're all related anyway. And
And then they're gonna tell you how.
I'm gonna say
Adam and Eve.
And then they're gonna either bring up the excuse of like, oh, I don't believe in the religion. I'm not very
Okay,
religious.
then I'll be
And I'm
like,
like,
okay, I
well,
respect
how did the world come about? Then like, oh, the Big Bang Theory.
Big theory. Oh God, that's
Yeah,
nuts.
that's a whole nother category subject about religion and science, man. That's it gets deep. It gets deep for sure.
Gosh, the stereotypes that we listen and see all the time. It's not only just through people's mouths and stuff. Well, technically, yeah, but like also to social media too. That's another thing. Like, yeah, it's funny as heck too.
Right.
And we all can relate to it. That's another part, is that we can laugh about it. But you have some people that comments like, "That's not funny."
Right. Oh, let me bring up another stereotype, right? Another stereotype is that everybody assumes, just because I'm Samoan, everybody assumes that I'm related to The Rock, or I'm related to Troy Polamalu, or I'm related to
Oh my God,
JJ
that's
Momoa.
always it's the same thing as the Hawaiians with the Marcus Mariota. Or no, has anybody told you that you was related to Manti Te'o when Manti Te'o was like into Notre Dame and they were gonna win the championship and stuff like that?
Yeah, all the
And
time.
has everybody ever told? Yeah, see?
That goes back
It's
to all
always-
Polynesians are related.
Yeah, that's another thing, because everybody would mistake you, like, you know, The Rock. Yeah, The Rock's my uncle. And that's another thing that you guys always do. Well, that's my cousin.
Right, exactly.
That kind of stuff. That's hilarious.
You know, it's funny. We play that off big time.
Oh, you guys do.
The crazy thing is, yeah, it is a stereotype that we're all related, but we treat everybody like family anyway. Which
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure Hawaiians and other Pacific Islands, actually all the Pacific Island cultures do that. We're very open to, you know, as far as our culture, to everybody in the world. We want to share our culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
like with us Samoans, especially us Samoans, me growing up as a Samoan, every time I had my friends over, my parents would call them son or daughter, whoever my friend
Oh,
was.
like Hanai.
Yeah,
Hanai,
exactly.
Hanai
That's
brother
how
and
it is
sister.
in Hawaiian.
I have-
Is
Let me tell you how much Hanai brothers I have. Okay. It is not like, whenever my brothers, when they were in high school, they play football. And you always have your football brothers, which is your Hanai brothers.
right, exactly.
They're like part of your family, because like literally our family in our house, when we had our weekends, when they came over, you have a Japanese brother, then you have a Tongan brother, then you have lots of Samoan brothers, and then you have more Tongan brothers, and then you have like so on and so forth in our family. It's like a whole, like a whole Polynesian house.
Right, and
Literally.
it becomes like an everyday thing, to where when we get older, we just say, oh yeah, that's my brother, because we basically grew up in the same house together anyway.
Yeah, like
You
it's
know
the
what I
same as my
mean?
dad. Like, remember I told you about my dad? thinking he was Samoan because he grew up with Samoans in
Right.
the Halaf Heights. He's still considered as my uncle, who's my godfather, is Samoan, and he's still my grandma tells him, son, you know, you my son, I'm gonna love you as my son, because my uncle wasn't so all there, same thing as my dad, but you know, she still took him in, let him stay with her,
Right.
and you know, fed him and stuff like that. So she, even though they're not blood related, she still considers him
Yeah,
as son.
she raised them.
Yeah, it's the same thing as my brother's friends that came over. My mom always calls them son,
Right.
literally.
Right. And
So we call them brother.
and I think because of all of that, we kind of like, I guess, are feeding the fire of that stereotype of everybody related. Because like, if somebody asks me like, oh, is that person are you related to him? Like, yeah, man, that's my brother. I grew up with that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of does feed up that stereotype about everybody related, but
Yeah.
technically not. They are not really related by blood, but
Yeah, blood.
technically
We're
they're
not blood
family.
related, but we was raised related, I should say,
So
right?
a stereotype is kind of like you're kind of like be like, it kind of not true because we're not related in blood. Kind of related. We're
Yeah,
just
so
like
yeah, so
family.
the stereotype is not true, most definitely, but just
Yeah, most definitely.
the words is you know, all Samoans are related or all Hawaiians are related. Yeah, because I freaking call him my brother. We grew up together anyway.
Yep.
And you know, the other crazy thing is, because we grew up with that person, it's gonna be weird to even like with a girl, right, or another of your opposite gender, right? You grew up
Yep.
with that person. It's gonna be weird for me to go out with her or even marry her because
Because you guys grew up.
I saw her as a sister this whole time.
Well, it's the same thing as being like a childhood friend, pretty much. But then you don't consider them as childhood friend. You consider them as like a brother
Yeah,
and a
exactly.
sister.
Exactly. I mean,
Like it's just
unless you guys can, you know, work it out somehow.
work it
I
out
mean,
somehow. Like maybe when you guys were like a little kid, then you guys are liking each other.
you're like,
Then
oh, do you remember, like
maybe.
you're married, right? And then you think about it like, oh man, remember when we were like 3 years old and our parents would shower us together?
Gosh, that would be an awkward conversation.
But
Like, yeah, have you? Do you remember
that
that?
happens, man. I don't know if other cultures do this, but we did that shit. Us Pacific Islanders. It don't matter, like at the beach, right? At the beach, like all the little kids, like all the parents go and shower the kids. Not, and it's not in a,
And they
it's
take
not
off
in
their
a,
diapers and
yes,
stuff like
it's
that.
not in a, like, don't get us wrong, whoever's listening, you guys are not Polynesian or Pacific Islanders. It's not in any perverted way. That's just the way it was. Everybody, they just take their kids to go shower because the outside
Or they
shower only
just
had like 4 spouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or they just have them hanging while they're going to the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong about it because they're and the only reason why we even like take off their diapers or their swimmers is because there's sand that's stuck
Exactly.
up the crack. It's hard
Exactly.
to fucking do that. But you don't see us like us adults when we're grown up and stuff, or teenagers, that we don't take off. Yeah, we
Yeah,
do
yeah.
like the like, you know, what is it called, like kind of like lifting, not lifting up the shirt a little bit, but kind of just to get the water inside
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. We'll
We do that.
pull the shorts out so that
Pull
you
the
can get
shorts out a
inside.
little
Yeah.
bit. That's what we do, but we don't do the whole naked thing. Maybe when you're like when we're cakeys or babies.
Yeah, when
and
we're
stuff
little
like that.
babies, yeah, like say
And it's nothing wrong. It's not perverted. It's not. It's just.
nah.
It's hard to control your toddler and your baby to keep still to try to get the sand out of their ass.
Yeah. I
They're
mean,
sorry. They're
wh-
mulis or they're ocoles.
I mean, frick, when I was a little babies and my mother or my grandma was watching all of us kids or me and my other cousin, and she would just shower us one time. That way, you know, you save water and
Save
you
water.
just do it one time.
Hey, you can say that though, that we are cheap as shit.
Yeah, nah. It's
we
not.
keep
It's not
the
being.
water
It's not. It's
conserved.
not being cheap. It's being smart.
It's being smart. Yeah, that's true. That's true because
It's
we
being smart
conserve
because
the water.
yeah,
Because the
because
water. Let me tell you guys about the expenses back in Hawaii. It is ridiculous.
it
Like,
still is expensive.
it's still expensive. That's the whole reason why I moved. Nah, just kidding. But like, no, I love Hawaii. It's gonna be always big in my heart. But the freaking expense in that.
But that's how it was
Yeah.
back in the days. Like back
It's
in
still
the
back in the days, yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
days, and in the actual islands like Samoa, Fiji, all the other islands. That's not like, you know, caught up with the world nowadays as far as
Yeah.
technology and buildings and whatnot. Like they're still living in the old ways where they use the rainwater, they use
I was about to
the
say that the
waterfall water. You know what
rainwater.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
preserving this water because we don't have much of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's the
So
same thing as so my family has a land in Maui, and it's so my uncle lives there only with his little family, and his daughters, they all love the, having to plant taro and living off the grid of the Maui's, like Maui's city side and stuff like that.
hmm
And so we're literally around the mountain and right down the mountain. That's where our land is. So my uncle he's living in the old generation. He does his plants his taros, plants his plants. He does go off electricity, but he still collects rain and stuff like that because he knows how to collect water and use the water for bathing and stuff. The same thing, like whenever we visit, we do the same thing. So you have some people out there that, or some islanders out there that still keeps the island culture and especially the agriculture in the same way.
yeah,
Example,
like
my uncle and his daughters.
yeah, we still practice our traditional, cultural ways, and with a mix
Mhm.
of the modern ways that it is nowadays, because a lot of the modernized way to do things is just the way to do things nowadays, especially with new technology. And
Oh
so
yeah.
so a lot of us are Pacific Island culture. We just merge it together. That way we still practice our traditional ways, but also, doing it in a modernized way, I guess you should say.
I like living back in Hawaii when I was in school was that they still had the Hawaiian agriculture where I don't know if you had it before too because you were living in Hawaii too, right? Where you had this class and it was a Hawaiian class, and then they did the whole thing, the taro, and you had to make your own poi
Yeah.
and all you even make the Hawaiian games and all this kind of stuff. That's what I really loved about Hawaii was that they still kept that within the school
Right,
about
right, right.
how it was back then, and this is how they were made, and this is how poi was made, and this is how you're supposed to make kapa, which is
Right.
cloth and stuff.
Yeah, they did that with elementary schools, and they would have they would have your regular subjects, and then they would have a Hawaiian studies class, which where Kupuna would teach it. I was like the only, well, at least for my school I went to, that was the only different teacher that I would have. Other than that, my one teacher would teach all the other subjects, and then we would have a Kupuna. If you guys don't know what Kupuna is, it's just really just a Hawaiian elder that was your teacher, right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay. Yeah, they would come in and teach the Hawaiian ways, and not saying that they was trying to push the Hawaiian ways onto the students. They were just teaching because they're in Hawaii and this is the Hawaiian culture. They were just teaching about the history, teaching about the foods. That's basically teaching them about their environment where they're living in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But at the
it's
same time, even when, growing up too, like you always remember like every time when you have a family party. And this is not a stereotype, guys. This is actually real. Every Samoan and Hawaiians does this. When you have your first kid's birthday party, you always, especially when you're parents, especially when you're the dad, pretty much, you're the one that has to find a nice pig. I don't know if you're gonna blur this out. Shoot it, shoot it, and then skin it, and then start cleaning it
basically
out and
prepare the pig for the feast.
prepare the yep. And this time, like you have to do this at this is like every like first birthday for every kid.
Yeah,
Is that you have
it's
to
just a
make
tradition.
is you have to make the emu.
Yeah, it's just a tradition that's the celebratory food that they've
Mhm.
eaten back in the days, and we still practice it to this day.
To this day, literally, that's the one tradition that still sticks with us to this day is that when somebody has any celebration that's very important, say like a first birthday to a fifth
Graduation
birthday,
to a funeral.
graduation, funeral, they always have to get the emu ready for the kalua pig because especially with all the uncles and the men. The
Right,
men
right.
is the one that's doing this, where it's cooked on the ground. And women, us women will be the ones that's cutting up the meat. We're not cutting up the meat,
Help
shredding up the
prepping.
meat. What pretty much shredding, yeah. Prepping, shredding the meats. And it's like That's another tradition that we both have that's in common with the Samoan and Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Is that any important day, any celebration day, that's the one thing that everybody knows, especially men, knows what to do when it comes to that time.
That's one of the similarities in the different cultures is that brings us together is food. And food is a totally freaking, we could talk food all day and all night, but
We can talk all day.
um the other thing that ties all the cultures together is music and dance.
Oh, yep.
It's very similar, yet we all use our own
Language.
language. We all use our own. We'll either use the same instrument or something similar, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or we'll use the same instrument, just maybe in a different way. Like some of the instruments I want to bring up, we have the slit drum. Oh my gosh, we have the slit drums, the panpipes, sounding boards, and some of the drums like hand drums. You got and then something as simple as not even using drums or anything. We just use our body, and meaning you do body slaps, you do
Body
hand
slaps.
slaps, and anything that you can use to make a beat. And that's really what our culture was. We There was this one. I think Fijians was the one that started the hollow tree bark. They would use
Oh,
a tree. They would hollow it out, and then
is it
Tahitians
the
started that.
Tahiti? Yeah, the Tahiti. They're the ones who did
Yeah,
the hollow
Tahitian was the one that created the hollow tree, and
to
that's
make it into a drum.
yeah, that's what it was called. I think it was called a slit drum.
For us, we had the gourd, which is the ipu.
Yep, Ngora, the
That was
ipu.
purpose for that was purpose for the hula, and then you had the bamboo stamping tubes.
Mm-hmm.
They're the eke ekes. What else? The slit tube rattles. We all know that one.
Oh, a common one that is used for celebratory events, and either as like a introduction or a signaling device to where people would know that the party's starting, or a specific event is starting, or an arrival of important visitors, is the conch shell.
Oh yes, the
So
seeds.
the conch shell commonly used for big celebratory stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's a purpose of saying, in another words, let's eat.
Yeah,
It's ready. It's,
yeah.
it's time for eat.
It's time to
Pretty much.
eat, or it's time to respect
Or
the special guests that are coming. Our you know what I mean? Our honored guest.
sometimes
Uh,
they just be like special announcement kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. So it's like the start and the finish of events, and which
Yeah.
is a big part of our culture.
Yeah. Have you ever, speaking of parties, have you ever got
It's
this?
electric. Didn't? Oh, I thought you was talking
Okay,
about.
the electric slide. Yes, that's the most thing that everybody wants to talk about. But I'm talking about how
Oh,
you tell how you make the time of the party, and everybody's on Hawaiian time, which is like Hawaiian time means they're gonna be like
an
couple hours
hour,
late,
couple
couple
hours late.
hours after the actual time.
Yeah, Hawaiian time, Samoan time. Like
Hawaiian,
it's just
Samoan
it's just
time.
Pacific Island time. Island time.
That's
That's what
why
it's called.
that's why everybody realized that, and then they started making their
Parties a
their
little earlier.
parties a little bit early, like 2 o'clock, because instead of 6 o'clock, because that's how everybody does their parties. Is like at 6 it starts. But in actuality, you should put that your party starts at 2, so that they could come
They come at
at
3, 4 o'clock.
6, 3 or 4 o'clock. Yeah, exactly. Because by that time, when it's 3 or 4 o'clock, that's when it's time to eat.
You know,
Because if you
I do that shit nowadays. Like every time we like have like not even just parties. We'll just have a gathering at the beach for a barbecue and play volleyball. Right? For some reason, they want me to plan it. I don't know why, but I plan it, and they're trying to think like, oh, tell them, let's do it like 4 o'clock. And I was like, Mom, I'm gonna tell everybody noon, 12 o'clock. All right.
yeah. And then she wonders why, right? But then you're like, trust me, Hawaiian time, Samoan time.
Yo, and then we're all getting ready or whatever, and I look at the time like, it's 12 o'clock, Mom. And we're still at the house. We're still cooking the food. We're still getting ready, packing the cars. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yep.
I was like, Mom, you see why I tell everybody 12 o'clock? Because we're not even there either.
Exactly. That's another thing that we all got, like we all know about this thing.
Yeah.
Is that you have to put like an earlier time so that they can actually come to the actual time that you were thinking of that they were
Yeah.
gonna be here.
Like, look at my wedding, for instance. We had our reception and then the ceremony, or the
Yeah.
ceremony and then the reception.
Ceremony and then a reception.
So our ceremony it obviously started, and we I mean, I'm not calling people out, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was probably like a good 20 people there, and then like in the middle of the ceremony, that's when like everybody else came. You know what I mean?
It's always that time. Like they won't come for the ceremony, but they know they're gonna
They'll
come
be
for the
there for the
reception.
reception.
It's
Yeah.
a party.
So yeah, I already knew that it wasn't going to be packed at the ceremony because we went the traditional way. As as far as in the Samoan culture, we're very religious and Catholicism or Christian,
Hmm.
and a lot of times we go through the whole religious service as in our ceremony. So basically, going to church. That's what it was. So we went through the
Yeah,
whole church service, and I knew people wasn't gonna come to go to church. They were just
because in your guys' Samoan church, right? They only talk in Samoan language, right?
yeah. In Samoa, yes. They
Yeah,
have so in Hawaii we have Samoan community churches
yeah. I
where
know some of them.
where we do English, but then we also have a specific Samoan language service.
It's the same thing over here in Virginia. We have a Samoan church here.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And my husband's grandmother is the one that goes to it, and his sister goes to the Samoan church.
Oh,
Which
so your
that
husband's family is up there too.
practically that's the reason why we came here was we live in with his like we I his family's all here in Virginia.
Oh,
So yeah, so they go to Samoan church. And the way I hear from my sister in law is that the only Samoan language. And
which is good because they're definitely far away from the islands, and
that's the only way.
that's a
But
good way to.
we also have a over here too in Virginia. We also have a Pacific festival here. We have a Pacific Island festival here in Virginia.
They have that at a lot of places now. Like they got it in
Yeah,
Arizona a lot. They have it in Vegas a lot. In California a lot.
I kind of figure Vegas because it's the ninth island.
Yeah, I like to call Arizona the 10th island because there's so much freaking
Ah,
Polynesians over here. That's crazy.
yeah. No, Virginia. I didn't know there was gonna be that much Samoans here, but there is. And even I didn't know they were gonna have like a Pacific Islander festival
Yeah.
until like 2 years ago. I found out that his grandmother was performing into this.
All
She's
right.
a vice president of the board for it.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's in charge of those things, and she performs every year. According to my husband, every year she never misses,
That's
and she
good.
goes
That's
to
what's
it.
up.
She also wanted my kids to come to the Samoan church so they can learn the Samoan language too, because technically my kids are Samoan, half
Yeah.
Samoan, half Hawaiian,
Yeah. The half
Samoans,
Sawines or
Samoans,
Samoans.
Hamo, no,
Hamo.
Hamoans,
Hamoans.
Hamoans.
Speaking of festivals and performance, dance is a really big thing in the Pacific Island culture,
And every
and
tourist loves it.
every tourist loves it. And I know we brought up earlier I brought up the haka, and if you
Mm-hmm.
guys, so this was another stereotype that was another stereotype. Like a lot of people think that all we know is the haka. Like us Hawaiians, Samoans, Fijians, we do the haka. I'm like, no, we don't do the
No.
haka. Yes, we can do it, and we can pay tribute to the Maori culture, and we'll do it
Yes.
in a respectful way. But that's not what we do. That's not our culture. And the haka, if you
So
guys don't know, the haka is a war dance specific to the Maori culture. And I said war dance, yeah, it's because it's for them to get ready for battle, to intimidate their enemy and all that stuff. And it's over time, it's became a celebratory thing, to do at celebrations, parties, just to honor whoever's being celebrated.
and
And
it's like you said, like a battle cry pretty
yeah,
much. Because like you also like if I know everybody around the world seen the Tongans against the
Samoan,
Samoans
yeah,
within the rugby game, and they always do their hakas,
yeah,
and that's like their both warrior cries for what's coming within that game, pretty much to show that they're not gonna step down, they're not gonna give up on this, and they're gonna go and win this championship or win to the next, I guess, the next game for win to go to the championship kind of stuff.
And the thing with that though, people may think that it was like them trying to intimidate each other. It was like, no, though they were doing
No.
that as a respect for each other.
Yep.
They were doing that because they wanted to do it, showing that yes, I am ready for this battle, but I also respect you as our opponent. You know what I mean?
Like, I get why people think of that. I see that. That's you.
I mean,
I get why
it is to intimidate other people,
it's
but
intimidating.
it's them doing it to another culture that we relate to. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it's more like you said, it's a very respectful way of it, and because of
We were brought up the same. We were brought up in the
brought up the
same.
same.
Yeah, exactly. No matter if it's Hawaiian, Tongan, Fijian, Samoan. We brought up in our own different cultures, but it's all the same, similar way.
I like how everybody gets so like intimidated from it because they're like, the mean face.
Yeah.
The-
I mean, yeah,
the
if we're going against
Mean face
any
to the tongue.
other, if we're going against non-Pacific Island culture, yes, we wanna eat you alive. We wanna kill you. You know what I mean? But
then I've never seen them ever did a haka between a non-Polynesian.
you never know. So you never seen the All Blacks do it to all their opponents,
Oh, okay. Wait, if I think about it, yeah, the All Blacks does do that.
and yeah, it's crazy, man. I do wanna say the different names for the different cultures and their own war dances. And so
Oh yes.
Maori culture comes from New Zealand, and that's where the Maori people are from, and theirs is called the haka. The Samoan version is called the sivatau, and then the Hawaiian version is called the ha'a. The Tongan version is called the sipitau, and then there's a Fijian version called the sibi. Those are not all of it, but those are just some of the common cultures that with their own war dance. Because I know the Solomon Islands has their own war dance. I haven't looked it up, and the Vanuatu has their own, but they all derive from the same thing from back in the days in our traditions. We all had our war dance for whenever somebody tried to take over our land. I wanted to bring up another Samoan culture tradition dance, and it's called the fire knife dancing. I learned the fire knife dance since I was like 7 years old, and it was a part of our culture. I wanted to, actually, I was kind of forced to do the fire knife dance. And let me give you a little history. So the fire knife dance dates back to the ancient Polynesian demonstration of Ailau, which was a Samoan warrior's display of strength using a war club, and was typically performed at ceremonial processions. So let me tell you guys this. Originally, the fire knife dance was not performed with fire. And I don't know if you guys knew that, but it was performed with, it was just, they were just using a war club, and it would spin it and whatnot. And it was just like the war dance where they would slap their bodies and make, crazy faces to intimidate their enemy. And so in the Samoan culture, they used those war clubs to spin and whatnot also to intimidate their, with the war dance. And it wasn't, people think that it started off with fire, but it didn't start off with fire until 1946, when a Samoan American by the name of Uluwao Latuli, also known as Freddie Latuli. The story goes that after Uluwao was watching a fire eater and baton twirler perform, that's when he decided, like, oh, let me put that on top of my knife or my war club. So what he did was he wrapped towels around it on each end, and then he dipped it in gasoline and he lit it on fire, and then he did his performance. And then ever since that's when it became the tradition to do a fire knife dancing.
Shit, I didn't even know that.
And the poi dancing, right? The poi balls.
Yes.
So the poi ball dancing, they also didn't start with fire.
Huh?
Yeah, they didn't. And poi dancing, if you guys don't know, you guys can search it up on YouTube. Just look up poi, POI, and then ball dancing. So it started from the Maori culture. They would use it as well as training. They would use it as training for battle. And that's how it started. And then it obviously became like a fire knife dance. It became like a ceremonial thing to celebrate stuff. And what they did was, after Uluwao, wrapped his fire knife with towels and dipped it in gasoline and lit it on fire, that's when they got the idea, oh, let us dip the poi balls in fire, and then we could spin it too and perform it that way. And so that's how it became, that's how the Maori people started lighting their poi balls on fire.
They must have been like back in the days. They must have been like, ooh.
Right, exactly. I'm gonna have a whole nother category about what we said earlier about superstitions.
Superstitions.
We're gonna have another episode of superstitions about the fob language, which is meaning fresh off the boat.
Pigeon.
Hawaiian pigeon. Every language
pigeon.
has their own version, but it's all the same. Where it's basically
broken English.
Yep, exactly.
It's called broken English.
It's called broken English.
I remember one time my dad posted something and my husband started bashing him for it. I forget what it was. It was something about football. And it was about the yards or something about yards. And my dad said something in a broken English version of that. And I was like, what?
Oh man. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna land this ship. We're gonna end the show. I appreciate you, Tiare, for coming on the show as a special guest. I'm glad that you were able to be here. Hope you had a good time.
Oh yeah, I did. This is a great first experience of me being on someone's podcast. You know what I mean? Like, I love that we talked about something that we both knew what we were going to talk about and interested in too, and it was related to our culture. You know what I mean? Like, this was very fun. And I'm glad I've been here.
I mean, it wasn't even really planned. We kind of was just talking.
We literally was just playing Valorant.
We were talking about this anyway. Then I was like, wait, I'm gonna be talking about this in my episode, so why don't you just be a guest?
And I said, yeah. I said, hell yeah. Even though he was like, oh, do you want to be on camera? I was like, I got a code somewhere.
Well, it's not. I didn't say, do you want to be? I was like trying to I need you on the camera.
Yeah. But we figured out that we could he could put the VTuber on here and.
Well, it's different. Not, right? It's different.
It's very different for a podcast.
You're my very first guest and my very first VTuber guest, I guess.
I know.
Maybe the next time. Awesome. Maybe the next time I have you on as a guest, we'll have your actual face.
My actual face. It's. Don't worry, guys. In front of this, behind this VTuber is very pitiful.
I know. I know the voice doesn't match the actual VTuber.
It does not. It's not matchy at all. But you know what? It's something.
It is.
And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you so much for putting me on your podcast. Definitely, hopefully, we'll see when he does do another episode with me. I hope you guys do enjoy it. And please, yeah, I'll definitely come and support my brother at any time, any place, whenever he gives, sends us a call. And not be on Valorant a lot of times because he's been MIA.
I have been MIA, but that's because I'm doing this podcast. But
at the same time, he's doing his podcast and his YouTube, which is very awesome, guys. Like I even follow him, and he's doing amazing on his YouTube and his podcast. And definitely will look forward to this episode, honestly, because I want to see how this goes.
This has been a great time. I appreciate it again. I know it's last minute, but you're a great first guest. And if you guys hadn't already, go check out TiareKV. That's TiareKV, right? TiareKV. Check her out on YouTube. She has a Twitch as well. She's got a Twitter and an Instagram. So check out all her content. She's pretty cool gal, and very, very loving person. So I appreciate you coming down again. Before we end out the show, thank you to all the sponsors that we don't have. Again, Sure Mic, Cyberpower PC, Logitech, and YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. Thank you for allowing us to air this show on your guys' on your platforms. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end the show, and we'll catch you guys on the next time. Yes, sir.